Today we're going to go through the process from start to finish of cleaning up the hood of my 2014 Tesla Model S P85D to apply a new graphene coating. We'll be going through a basic waterless wash, iron decontamination, clay bar, cut and polish, IPA wipe down, and then finally applying AutoCAN's graphene coating. As we can see, the hood is a bit gross with cat paw prints and all, which are my most favorite thing ever. I really need to finish enclosing this garage soon. The paint won't be perfect as the repaint that was done on this hood is subpar at best, and I don't really feel like wet sanding it right now. But let's get to this process. So to start off, we're going with a waterless wash to get all of the dirt, grime, pollen, and God knows what else off of it. You can actually see just how dark my microfiber cloth becomes while wiping the product away. For the waterless wash, we're using ONR, or Optimum No Rinse, as the surfactants in the product help lift the dirt away to reduce damage to the paint. When doing a waterless wash like this, you only want to wipe in one direction and not go back and forth or in circular motions, as you'll just be grinding everything that's on the surface into the paint and cause scratches or marring. After your initial wipe down, flip your cloth over and remove any excess product. I still don't like doing circular motions at this stage, as there are still contaminants on the surface. For the next step, we're going to go with iron decontamination. This car sat out in front of a bank in front of some sprinklers for a few months before I bought it, so I was almost certain there would be a lot of iron contamination, but there actually wasn't all that much. The iron decon we're using is Turtle Wax's Hybrid Solutions Pro Rapid Decon, which is a wheel cleaner and iron remover. It's designed to be sprayed on and left to dwell for 3 to 5 minutes, making sure to not dry on the surface. After the time has passed, you're supposed to use high pressure water to rinse it off, hence the pressure washer being pulled out. I really hate having to use actual water before detail, unless I have time to let the car sit for all of the water to dry and drip out of all the crevices, but it's necessary if going with an iron decon. You may also notice that there is now foot protection, unlike in the last clip. Between the two shots, FedEx actually came by and dropped off the new pair of sandals I bought, as my last pair had sadly broken after 2 years of abuse. Now that we've got the iron decon done and rinsed off, go ahead and either wipe down your panels to get rid of any excess water, or bust out your leaf blower, pet dryer, air compressor, whatever, to blow dry the car. A treated car is far more easy to dry off, but you can see it really struggles with a car that has no wax or sealants on it at all. The ideal dryer to use would be a cheaper pet dryer, as it's just as strong as the fancy high-end blowers for a fraction of the cost. I'll link the one I actually use when doing a full car in the description below for those who are interested. The next step in decontaminating the paint is to clay bar the surface. Clay bars come in many different types, though I still prefer to use the putty style clay bars over the clay mitts or clay pads, as I have more granular control and I can feel the imperfections a bit better. When using a clay bar, you need to make sure that you have plenty of lubrication on the surface to prevent the clay from skipping, sticking, or marring the surface. The lubrication that I'm using for the clay is actually the same thing I use for the waterless wash, ONR, sprayed heavily on the surface, then using the clay bar to go back and forth across the paint to pick up any debris still embedded in the paint. You don't want to use circular motions as, yet again, it can scratch the paint if you're not careful. You'll see two different colored clay bars used here. On the driver's side, I use Meguiar's clay bar, which is white and light to mild clay for more aggressive cleaning, and then on the passenger side using AutoCAN's yellow clay bar, which is a light clay for a more gentle cleaning. As with anything detailing related, always go for the least aggressive method possible to get the results you're wanting. The yellow clay bar is more ideal in this situation as it is more malleable and does a better job of embedding the contaminants in the clay compared to the tougher Meguiar's bar. As you're using your clay bar, you'll want to occasionally knead the bar in your hands, folding it over to a clean area of clay to prevent the dirt and grime it's picked up from being spread across the paint. It's time for everyone's favorite part, buffing and polishing the surface to get our beautiful mirror finish that we can't actually get on this car due to the repaint on the hood having a bit of orange peel. Oh well, it's good enough for what I'm doing right now without risking shelling out $600 to repaint the hood if I damage the paint wet sanding it. I don't know the quality of the repaint that was done or how many coats of clear were used, so it's not worth the risk right now. In the future, we will make a video on it though. Anyway, for the buffing and polishing step, we're actually using yet another new product. 2 of them to be precise because I like to change things up. At least that's what we'll go with. For the compound, we're using Turtle Wax's new One and Done compound paired with a Buff and Shine Eurofiber pad, which is designed for all stages of compounding. They also have a finer finishing pad, but I don't really see it being necessary except for maybe like GM black paint or something that's incredibly soft. To get started, you'll want to apply 3 to 4 dime-sized drops on your pad. I opted to go with 6 smaller drops for the initial priming, just so the compound is a bit more spread out. This compound is designed to be pad adjustable, meaning it's as strong as the pad you're using and can be used for cutting or polishing, or in my case with the type of pad I'm using, both. It finishes down beautifully. Start off by touching your polisher to the paint surface in approximately a 2x2 area, then spread it around to minimize any chances of slinging when you turn your polisher on. Start on your lowest speed, spreading it out even more, and steadily ramp up to the highest speed necessary for your results. Since this is an initial cut and I know I have some nasty water spots to cut through, I go all the way up to max speed, which is 7500-ish RPMs on the Ryobi dual action polisher. Work the compound in a crosshatch pattern, applying medium pressure. The foam should just barely be compressing under your pressure for the first 2 passes, and then go with lighter pressure on the finishing passes. You'll want to work with slow, even passes, moving the polisher about 1 to 2 inches per second. If your polisher stops spinning, bogs down, binds up, whatever, let up on your pressure. If the pad isn't spinning, it's not doing any work. As we can see, it's done a wonderful job removing the rather hard water spots, and it's leaving the best finish I can realistically ask for. It's removed the swirls and minor scratches as well. Obviously can't do much for the orange peel, as that would require wet sanding, but it's getting the results I'm looking for, and I'm happy it's being done in a one-step product. One and Done doesn't have any fillers in it, so I don't have to worry about it just hiding the scratches like some other compounds are known to do. It's time to finish up polishing the rest of the hood, which was done as a time lapse, so audio has been interjected in for effect. The working time of One and Done is surprisingly long. You could likely get away with doing the whole hood before wiping off the product, and it still comes off easily, so long as you don't overheat the compound, that is. Any compound has issues if you do that. Removal is very simple though. Simply use one side of your microfiber cloth to remove the majority of the product left on the surface, and then flip it over to a clean side and buff it off. I was surprised at how easily it comes off. It buffs like a cutting compound and removes like a finishing polish, which is wonderful. The other really nice thing is that it's a non-dusting or extremely low dusting formula. They claim non-dusting, so we'll go with that. And for those wondering, no, this video is not sponsored by Turtle Wax. I sought out and bought all the products myself. They were just products I wanted to try and then made the video while using them is all. Now that we've got the hood and windshield, though done off camera, corrected to the point that we want, it's time to bust out the trusted water and IPA bottle as seen in pretty much every detailing video of mine. I'll be sad when it breaks. The mixture is about 20% water mixed in with a bottle of 91% IPA, which is isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol. Simply spray it on the surface, spread it around with one of your cloths, and buff it out with the other side. All this is doing is removing any oils that may still be left on the surface. While One and Done doesn't have any fillers, which this would have removed if it did, it still would have some type of lubrication to increase its working time, which is usually an oil base, and the IPA wipe down removes that. You can do the wipe down twice if you want, it won't hurt anything, and guarantees all oils are gone. Oh yeah, graphene coating time. For today's graphene, we'll be using AutoCAN's Graphene Ceramic Coating, boasting a 7-year longevity if maintained and a 25% gloss enhancement. We'll be using a tiny portion of the 60 milliliter bottle, which should be more than enough to coat even an SUV. This is actually my first time working with a graphene coating, but research tells me it's very similar to working with a ceramic coating, and that does seem to hold true. Application and removal are extremely similar, if not, honestly, identical. Take the lint-free white cloth provided in the packaging and wrap it around the foam applicator pad, making sure the end of the cloth overlaps on the back side and not on the applicator side. Apply 5 to 7 drops to the applicator pad, a tiny bit goes a long way here, and make an X across an approximately 2x2 section of your panel. Afterward, go ahead and work in a crosshatch pattern, meaning horizontal and vertical passes to spread the product out, making sure there are no dry spots on the paint. A dry spot is easy to identify with a coating like this, as it won't have the additional gloss. You'll also want to carefully go around your edges and corners to get the product all the way to the edge. Refrain from using circular motions, as that tends to create a lot of high spots, which are just a waste of product and requires more work to remove. One thing that I definitely like about AutoCAN's graphene coating compared to their professional line ceramic coating is that it has a notably longer working time before it flashes off, making it far easier to level out. You get about 3 to 5 minutes of working time compared to the 1 to 2 minutes with their other coating, which will allow you to work a larger area, such as a whole hood, all at once, instead of having to stop halfway and buff off the coating. Speaking of buffing, that's the last step. While you can immediately level out and buff the coating, I would recommend waiting at least 1 minute before doing so to give it a little time to set up. You'll want to take either the supplied microfiber cloth or a plush one of your choosing and wipe the product in one direction to remove any excess product. And then flip the cloth over to a clean side and buff the product in a circular motion with very light pressure to a consistent and uniform coating. Now that we're done with the close-up section of applying the coating, let's go around and do the whole hood in one fell swoop. This is sped up 3 times normal speed. I always struggle with finding a good spot to set the bottles down whenever I'm working with them. Wouldn't be the first time I've accidentally kicked one and knocked it over, spilling quite a bit of product, which is one of the reasons I prefer to go with these lesser expensive coatings. Now would also be a great time to do the usual plugs. If you like the content I'm putting out, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all new content as it comes out. As you can see, I'm working the hood in about 6 sections to maintain the 2x2 area I previously mentioned, and thanks to the extended working time, I'm able to do the whole hood at once before moving on to buffing the excess off. I tried to get a good shot of high spots here, but it's amazingly difficult to see on this red paint. I'll eventually do another shot of this in the future when I work on the black Teslas instead. From this point on though, it's just a matter of looking at the paint at about 20 different angles to search for high spots and buffing those out as you come across them. Here we can see one small high spot on the very front of the nose. As you can see, it appears as an oily sheen and effortlessly comes off with a quick buff. And that's all we have for today. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day.